Let me tell y'all something. I've gotten calls from these white networks wanting to put me on and give me a real big bag to get on TV and get out here and start throwing black immigrants under the bus. Somebody sent me this link of some dude. He made this one dude. I think he's in the UK. I don't know. I think he might be either Nigerian or from Jamaica. I don't know who he is, but he was criticizing me. I'm not Nigerian, by the way. Talking about, us being foundational black Americans and talking about how black Americans, this dude, now I want y'all to listen to this. He's talking about how we, foundational black Americans, we have an identity crisis. So I think this guy is Nigerian, by the way. No, I'm Jamaican. He's talking about how foundational black Americans, we have an identity crisis. Now I want y'all to listen to this. You think they haven't hit me up, people? Y'all think these folks haven't hit me up? And I'm talking about especially a person like me, as black as I am. They would love for me to join with them to dump on some black immigrants. There's a huge bag for that. They would love for me to join with them to dump on some black immigrants. There's a huge bag for that.
Hello everyone, this video is going to be addressing Tariq Nasheed and the FBA cult. I've known about Tariq Nasheed for a while. I think I've probably known about him for maybe around 8 years, I would say. Yeah, that seems likely. Maybe around 8 years. But I wasn't really keeping up with him, for all those years. And so I would say maybe around a year or two ago, I just learned about the FBA movement. And at first, when I encountered it, I really wasn't so hostile to it because it just seemed like Tariq Nasheed was standing, he was defending black Americans against, ignorant members, from other diaspora communities. But now, it's just a straight up, it's just a straight up hate cult now. All they do, literally all they do is just attack other black immigrants who are coming to this country. That's all they do. And the thing I find funny is that they have none of this same energy for immigrants from other parts of the world, right? They don't care about the white immigrants coming from all across Europe, coming here. Didn't Biden let in like 400,000 Ukrainians, if I'm not mistaken? And they have nothing to say about that, right? But when it's Caribbean or African immigrants coming, they say, well, why don't you go home and build your own nation? Why don't you do that? Well, why did you flee here? Why did you come over here? And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. The FBA movement, it fundamentally lacks substance, right? It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have anything worthwhile. Because all it is, because see, at least like with ADOS, right? ADOS, like American Descendant of Slaves, like that movement, it is an actual attempt at political power, right? At political activism within Black America. Although I don't like ADOS in particular, they are still a more active group, right? The things they're trying to achieve is more tangible. Whereas FBA is literally just complaining online. That's it. They're over there demanding, I don't know how much, but money, but they're demanding, cash reparations, reparations in cash, which is similar to what ADOS is doing. Similar, but ADOS is actually trying to implement it. Tariq Nasheed is just getting on the line and saying, yeah, we want our cash reparations. Does this guy seriously think Black Americans are ever going to get reparations in cash? And I'm not, maybe you can get reparations, like in scholarships or in some other method. But does this guy actually legitimately think that the Black American community will ever get cash reparations. If he thinks so, then he's extremely, extremely delusional. Extremely delusional. Um, to ask for cash reparations, right? Because if you add up however much money that is owed to Black Americans, just Black Americans, right? That comes up to trillions of dollars. Afro Think Tank, another Pan African YouTuber, he said asking them to give up reparations in cash is basically asking them to give up their entire empire. Sorry, it's just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. And this is how you know he's an agent. You know he's an agent, allegedly, but he's allegedly an agent because when you have someone pushing for something so unrealistic, it's clearly meant to just throw off the Black community. It's clearly meant to just throw them off so they don't focus on what actually matters. And let's keep it real, right? Do you really want, or if the current state of Black America, do you really want, all right, Black Americans getting all that cash? I don't know even how much they would give to each individual, but let's just say it's going to be a substantial amount. I would imagine. I would say that if Black Americans were to receive that, whatever the amount may be, each individual, the community would get significantly worse because too many members of the community just don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing, right? They would what they spend it on seafood boils, Don Julio, Black and Miles, Jordans, weaves, Glocks, extended clips. It's gonna be a bunch of bullshit. Nothing of substance. You will have a few, who try to invest back in the community. You will have a few, but it's gonna be dwarfed by that mass amount of stupidity. It doesn't take a genius to recognize the state of the community and understand that giving many of these people large amounts of money is not going to make things good. There's oftentimes this belief that just handing money to a community or to people will solve the problems, which, yes, it can, if that money is, if it is brought with education. There has to be education first, you know. Um, of course, enriching a community almost always leads to better results for the people of that community. But most people are not financially literate enough to know what to do with that money. If you were going to do something like this, it would be more responsible to at least give the money, the reparations to reputable, organizations which have the financial skills to reinvest back into the community. But even then, a lot of these organizations are just bought out, so I still wouldn't really be a fan of that. But that would be the much more wise approach to this. But the problem I have with Tariq is that he's actually admitted that he was offered, cash to attack other black people. And it seems like his followers still, like, I don't know if they just don't know about this or if they just don't care. But you would think that he would not have the success that he does, considering for the first couple, well, not for the first couple, for a good portion of his online career, he was a ardent Pan-African. But then I guess he started to realize that it's not really profitable. Nowadays, I imagine it's far more profitable, but it's not really profitable, and so he abandoned that, right? Tribalism is far more profitable than unity. Well, unity would be more profitable, but tribalism is more profitable in the short term, and he knows that. He's not a stupid guy. He's a businessman and quite an intelligent one. So he knows that spreading nonsense, spreading just bullshit narratives. Because I remember around this time last year, he hopped on the whole Haitian eating dogs and cats trend. He hopped on that, right? Because Trump said they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. And so Tariq, he just went along with that narrative. And, this is a very, honestly, shameful thing. Because he can acknowledge that white America may make up lies about black America, but he's willing to engage in the same lies and the same misinformation about people who look just like him, as if you can even tell a black American and a Haitian apart. And so ultimately, FBA is just a xenophobic death cult. And I call it a death cult because if it were, right, let's just imagine hypothetically, it were to truly take off, right, and this now became the dominant opinion in black America, what would this lead to? Nothing good, obviously. Delineation doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't. It doesn't. Now he knows this. He knows this, but he's been bought out. So he doesn't care. But his followers seemingly think that it will make them stronger or will bring them to a better position because they view their situation as they're being brought down by the tethers, by, black people from other countries who come here to leech onto them, right? Who come to leech onto black American achievements or onto like systems set up for black Americans. And admittedly, there are tethers. There are tethers. There's a lot of Caribbeans and Africans who come here and are very ignorant and disrespectful to black Americans and black American culture and black American history, right? They call them lazy, uneducated, violent savages. And a lot of them try to suck up to other races, but in particular white people, saying, well, we're not like them. We're not like the black Americans. We work hard. We aren't criminals. And that's wrong and disgusting, obviously, because you shouldn't judge any community, with such a broad brush like that, to begin with. But also, they don't differentiate between you two. They don't care, right? There's no difference between a black American, an African, a Afro Caribbean. Afro Latino or a Caribbean or I don't know, an Afro Arab or I'm just listing off the entire diaspora. They don't care. Whatever, you're black. You're black at the end of the day. They don't care. There is no differentiation, in what type of black you are. And if there is, it's very slight differentiation. They don't, but generally speaking, they don't care. They could not care less. Black is black to them. And so, that's one thing that FBA is right about. You do have these people. But I think the problem is they, right, are encountering Africans and Caribbeans who are just like them, right? And they don't like it. So maybe they should do some self-reflection and realize they should be better. Because the dumbest people are always the loudest. So it's far easier for a black American to notice dumb black foreigners who come here are disrespectful than the other ones, than the majority who are respectful and kind and, aren't tribalistic towards them, and vice versa. Because I'm now starting to see, some Africans say that, they use FBA as if that's an accurate representation of all black Americans, or at least of most black Americans. And it just simply isn't. It isn't. Most people don't even know what FBA is. You go ask them about FBA, they probably think it's like, I don't know, some sports team. They really don't know anything about FBA. Nobody cares about FBA. You know what I mean? FBA has no sway in politics. Whether this is domestically or abroad, it has no sway. No one cares. ADOS is far more of a formidable movement than FBA will probably ever be. Hopefully FBA just dies out. It needs to die out. But it just, they don't have the same, level of vitriol, that they leverage against, other black people. They don't do this to other, they don't do this to other immigrants. They don't. They don't do this. And that's the main thing that bothers me. If they were just fair and they did this to all immigrants, then fine. Cause I remember one of them saying that they miss whenever America was just black and white people. As they're saying, they say we missed that. It was just black and white people. You missed Jim Crow. You missed slavery. What do you mean you missed that? I don't. I've seen that. I've seen some of them say that. And I'm just like, what? Because they think they have this. Okay, here's a problem with black people right now. I don't think a lot of black people realize that most of the black identities right now are just fake, right? And they're white constructs. To be from pretty much any country in Africa, it's a colonial concept. What even is a Nigerian? Nigerians don't exist. You can be Hausa, you can be Fulani, you can be Igbo, you can be Yoruba, you can be Edo, so on and so. But there's no such thing as Nigerians aren't real. The ethnic groups, they are real. But Nigeria is a British colonial concept. You get what I'm saying? The same thing with, I don't know, modern state of Congo, the DRC. That's not real. You had the Kingdom of Congo. That's real. That did exist. You have Bakongo people. They're real. They exist. And you have the various different, ethnic groups in the Congo. They're real. But the modern state of the Congo is a Belgian creation, right? The same thing as a black American pretty much is a white American creation. Jamaicans are they're a British creation. So I don't really get why so many black people have this. Well, I mean, I know why, because most people are just stupid, whatever. But it's not something that should really be something that black people focus on, because they want, like these dumb identities which were given to the community, right? We're given to the race. We're imposed upon the race, right? But these aren't, naturally occurring things for the most part. And there are some exceptions. I would say like the Haitian identity is more real than other black diaspora identities, because Haiti was forged in revolution, right? Haitians, died and shed blood to have their nation established. And so I think when a nation is established through bloodshed, it is significantly more real than nations that aren't, right? Because Haiti is very similar to America in many ways. And I really think you can see this similarity found best in the inception of both of these nations, right? These are two nations that were forged in revolution, right? And freedom is at the heart of both of these nations. But only one of them truly practiced the idea of freedom, right? And truly took it serious and understood what it is, and that's Haiti. America did not, still doesn't, but America did not understand what freedom truly was, because they had an entire slave class in their nation, right? And then look at how they treated the natives. So America is not really a nation that understands what freedom is. But what we do have here in America, though, is the false concept, right? The idea of what people think freedom is. We do have that, though. We do have that. But yeah, that's something that we need to that's something that I think a lot of people need to hear, in particular about, America and its, freedom. But, I just, the thing about, the FBA people is that I don't know what it is, right? And I want to get back to the point I didn't finish, right? When I say it's a death cult. It's a death cult because Black America has been struggling for centuries at this point. There is no way that there can ever be any sort of black liberation or any sort of black uprising or improving the standards of the black community anywhere unless the continent is improved. Any sort of black revolution comes from the continent, right? Because when you think about it, the black race is probably the most vulnerable on earth. I'm trying to think. The only ones who maybe beat black people in terms of vulnerability is I guess maybe the Aboriginals in Australia. Yeah, I'm guessing maybe them. But for the most part, black people are extremely vulnerable, right? The continent is controlled by multinational companies which just mine and rape the continent, right? And they just exploit the entire continent. There's not a single truly modernized African military or just black military globally, right? What was I going to say? The continent is underdeveloped, right? We don't have nuclear weapons. Um, the Caribbean is poor. Afro Latinos are poor. They live in horrible conditions. Throughout their respective countries. Black Americans are at the bottom of the social totem pole in America, right? Maybe the only group lower than Black Americans are like Native Americans. I'm guessing, you know, because a lot of them live on reservations where they're in extreme poverty. But I need people to understand, and I get the FBA, like, the mindset, like, well, we've been here for so long, we're not going to leave, we want to fight. But I need them to understand sometimes in life you have to practice something called realpolitik. Realpolitik. REALPOT. No. POLITIK. Right? It's a German word. It means like you have to put down all of your feelings aside. And it's something that has to be practiced. You can't just do it. You have to put down all of your feelings to the side and just view things for how they truly are. And I don't see a way that black people can really succeed, especially in America, when it's a system literally set up for you to fail. Like, it is one of the best crafted systems of oppression, probably in human history. I know people say apartheid was well crafted, and it was, but I mean, it failed though. And I mean, and it still succeeds slightly to today, but for the most part, that system's done. Here in America, it's something. I mean, you know, so this FBA death cult, which is trying to delineate, they're just further cementing Black America's position as a permanent underclass, and it's not good. I don't support this. I wish nothing but the best for my African American brothers and sisters.